Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
This world.
I am in an undisclosed bunker. I can't release the exact. No, I'm in New Jersey. Where are you guys?
Oh,
Okay, we're just 20 miles west of Toronto.
Oh, fantastic!
in our
You know-
bunker. Yeah.
Everybody's got a bunker these days. That's the best part about it.
Look at your happy face shirt. Yes, a happy
Oh
face.
man, you'll love this because this is one of my. I mean, big fan of music, but check it out. It's a
Oh,
happy
it's a
face shirt, but it's got the. It's like a headphone. It's upside down.
All right.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's cool.
It's all for the love of music, guys. That's my beat.
I
Other
hear
than
you.
other than comedy.
Other than comedy, yes.
Well, we were just watching your interview with Jay Leno.
Oh, nice. That's nice. Did you guys like it? How'd you like it?
That's a good get, isn't it, for you?
It's a very good get. Yeah. It's a very good get. By the way, I'm huge fans of you guys. So just to have, again, this is cool though too, because sometimes this works out. Your people reach out to see, if I wanted to have you guys on the show. I was immediately excited. So
Nice.
like, been a very fan for a very long time. Have not gotten my ass to Canada yet, which I really should. But it's so weird. Like, not even on a drunken bet have I made it over to Canada yet. So it's just odd. But yeah. So I'm excited to have you guys here.
Oh,
Well,
great.
that's great. We were going, how could this guy know anything about us?
Who is this guy?
You're not. What's funny is that you guys aren't the first people to say that kind of shit. Like I had this band, this woman on from a band from the '90s called Her. And her audience from back in I think it was like early 2000s. Back in the 2000s, it was her and her I think wife at the time. They're predominantly like they're great music and it's pop music and I love that kind of stuff. But also their fans, I think, are traditionally like women and also LGBTQ. So when she got asked to be on the show, but also like I got introduced to her because one of my best friends in comedy who always tours with me is a lesbian. So like, but I still love that music anyway, but it was one of those things where she was like, how did you find me? And I was just like, big fan of music. But yeah, no, I mean, not that you guys are lesbians and that's how I found you. I'm just saying, but I do love, like, I'm just as much of a comedy nerd as I am. I just love music, man. And I don't know what I would do without it. Like I'm one of those people who wakes up with a song in their head.
Oh, I do.
And you do too?
All day long. A lot of times I'm humming in songs I don't even know what they are. I just got melodies in my head. It doesn't matter what it is. It's music.
Yeah.
I find that I don't. I try not to hear music because the first thing I hear that day is going to be the thing that's stuck in my head all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we travel around without the radio on. We try not to listen to. We do that quite a bit. We go into other people's cars and they got their their stereo. Oh, hey, hold on.
It's like right now, I could tell you the song I've had stuck in my head for 2.5 weeks.
Please tell me.
You sure? Because it's going to get stuck in your head.
No, I love it. Go ahead.
It's Switching the Glide.
No, well, it should be Switching the Glide, but it's Whiskey in the Jar.
I love that, dude. That is the greatest. It's on my playlist. Whiskey in the Jar.
Incredible.
Mine is by but it's done by so many people. Mine is by
Metallica did a big version of it.
Did they really?
Yeah, Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy did the most popular one, maybe.
I think mine is the Stone Cold Soup Band who's got it.
Okay, but man, that is a hooky song. I'll tell you
It
that.
is. Oh, it's so much fun, and especially like around this time of year and around March for some reason, like where there's a lot of Scotch Irish festivals going on and stuff. Like it's always played by somebody. You know what I mean? Like I remember Seven Nations has a version of it, and I think so does oh my God, the Young Dubliners. They've got a version of it. And
I looked it up, and there's about 20 verses of that thing.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
Nobody does them all, but because you never remember it.
No, but that's a great. I'm glad it wasn't something really obnoxious because I would have been like, I can't.
We won't say anymore. Yeah.
But for you guys, that's crazy. It's funny that you mentioned that kind of thing too, because whenever I am with, musicians and they get into my car, my first thing is like, oh man, do I put on music? Like, do I like, and what if their song comes on? Is that super fucking weird? And like, I can't, and then, but, also I've just from talking to other musicians, I find out that comedians listen to strictly music whenever they're going anywhere, wherever in the car.
Right.
And my musician friends and stuff, other people I've had on, listen to they're like, oh yeah, we heard you on satellite radio. And I'm just like, why? aren't you guys like jamming out?
I think a lot of us, I don't listen to music in the car very much because I usually, go through the stations and there's nothing any good. So you just...
You haven't heard a million times before. Right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is because classic rock radio just plays the same stuff, of which we're part of it.
Yeah, we can't really say much about that, but
so a buddy of mine who just passed away last year. We used to drive when we went golfing, and he said he owned a bar, and one time he's in the bar and he says, Zero's. Whenever he's in my car, he turns the radio down, except when his song is on the radio, and then he turns it up. So,
yeah, right. Oh yeah, you gotta turn up your own. If you do happen to have it on when you're or in a store, you always go and stay. You hear it coming from the music in the store. I always go stand very close to one of the speakers or whatever it's coming from the ceiling or whatever, and saying there, yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I heard it in the grocery. I heard it in the store near where. When he lives a couple blocks from a grocery store. I was in there one day during COVID. I had the mask on and everything, and Switchin the Glad comes on the thing, and I'm going looking around, and nobody's listening. And everybody's walking around like a zombie.
I would be grabbing people, going, "This is me. I wrote. This is me."
Yeah. So at the cash register, there's like a 17-year-old girl working there, and I said, "Hey, that's me on the radio." And she looks at me like, come on, Gramps.
Sure.
Move along,
But in my case, we have like in Canada here, we have, there's a beer. You have to go to a specific. Well, not now. They just changed the laws. You can buy beer and wine at the corner store. But
oh wow,
there's the regular beer store that you go to. I go in there one time and the song "Switchin' Glides" on being played, and as soon as I walk in the door, the gal working there said, "There he is! There he is!" I go, "Whoa, whoa!" The other customers just they're all looking at me, go, "Who's he?"
Oh my God!
Did you ever play in a band, or were you ever a musician, fella? Or
I honestly wish I was. I've never. You know what I can do? I can play a little bit of the piano by ear, and that's about it. Like, and that's just from. Just strictly from like, sorry, somebody's calling. I always tell people to leave me alone. Like 8:30, nobody calls.
Me too.
Yeah, but like, no, I always like, my mom could definitely play the piano by ear and stuff like that. And I always had a keyboard when I was like a kid, or they had a piano in the room, so I can do that kind of stuff. But I've never. I wish, man. I think. I love doing comedy and I love being a comedian, but I think being in a band or singing or doing whatever is 10 times fucking cooler, dude.
Right on. You never sang though either, right? Didn't get up there and karaoke. You have karaoke.
Never sang. I'll tell you this, and I never tell anybody this because I hate especially other musicians. But when we used to have Rock Band, and we used to have like a really nice, like a set, and we bought all the music. I was always the singer in Rock Band, and I usually can mimic. Like if you gave me a piece of music and you were like, "Hey man, like what do you think? Like try to sing this." Couldn't do it. But if I hear somebody else do it, I can always mimic the sound of their voice pretty well. So like it would register on the thing. And so whenever we'd play Rock Band, we'd be like, "Come on, man, we're going to Paris. We got to see if we can make it in the game." And then I would always belt out, some Steve Perry, some AC/DC.
Great.
But that's true though. Like what you said, people that they're very professional people that are doing really well in their profession. They would always. We've met many people say, "I'd rather be in a band." Go, "No, you wouldn't." No, hold on.
Or I think I'm pretty funny. Maybe I'll go out to the open mic comedy night.
Yeah. I would, you know what okay, this is crazy. I pitched this not too long ago and people thought I was insane because when I was out, and this is like pre-COVID, when I was always going out to LA to like, meet up with, networks and shit. But I was like, there should be a show where comedians and musicians switch. And and a comedian helps a musician put together a 5-minute set, and their favorite musician teaches them how to either do drums for a bit, or they play in a band or they sing in a band, and then we do it live, like at the end of the week or some shit.
That'd be pretty wacky for sure.
Thank you. I know, and I think it would be. It might work. It might be a disaster. I don't know.
Being able to play piano by ear is quite a gift. You know that, right?
I do, yeah, and I wish I had, I don't know, I wish I had learned how to read music a little bit too, though, because there's just seems to be like, something. It takes me a bit to do it, like, but I can play like, most stuff. If I hear somebody riffing on the piano or whatever, or like I memorized all the Christmas songs because when I was a kid, that's what I loved Christmas, and I liked, all of that stuff, the Peanuts stuff, especially. Like I used to love, and also like he had one song that was like not in any Peanuts cartoons, but it was called like "Cast Your Fate to the Wind," and I think it was like another one that I had learned how to kind of mess around with and stuff. So it stays with me, but I haven't done it in years.
They used to joke about that title being "Masturbate to the Wind," I think.
Oh, that's just made my whole day.
That brings up some imagery, I think, of some kind.
It does, especially in the wind. That's some. That's, yeah. That's a whole different kind of pollination. It's. Oh my God. So when you guys you were talking about it a little bit before, where you said, you wake up with songs or a music or some kind of beat or whatever in your head, but is that how you guys, write your own music and stuff like that too? Do you start out with melodically like, oh, I've got this riff and, we'll figure that out and then we'll put lyrics to it later, or does it switch for you? Lyrics come first?
Oh, that's pretty much, he generally does the music first, and he'll give me a tape with the melody on it, and then
I'm the melody guy. He's the wordsmith, and we also do switch back and forth as well the odd time, but that's the majority.
Yeah,
I'm always humming. It's funny. My family says, "You're humming again." I go, "Yeah, I'm always everywhere I go, all the time. Even cutting the lawn or trimming the hedges. I'm doing that, and I go, "What is that?" And I go, "I don't even know what that is." And
that's incredible.
The good licks you remember. The bad, we all have shitty licks when we're writing music, as you know. And, just like if you're writing a part for your comedy thing, you go, well, that's sort of funny. That's not funny, that kind of thing.
It's definitely like
you always remember the good ones. You always remember the good stuff.
Absolutely.
I have a pad and a pen beside the bed because the discipline is because you're lying there and you go, that's a good idea, and then you go, I'll remember it. And then you go, you better write it down. Yeah. I mean, if and then you write it down, you turn on the light and go blind and everything, and then you write it down, and then it's either good or shitty the next day. But
yeah. You're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. I always equate that to the old Warner Brothers cartoons with the Roadrunner, when he meeps and then runs, but there's just the cloud. And then it dissipates. That to me is if I don't write it down, it's just it's gone, and all that's left is like a cloud that'll disappear.
It just disappears. Yeah.
I was watching an interview with Jerry Seinfeld once, and he put out like cue cards, those little cards that he'd written the jokes on.
Yeah.
And he showed them on a piece of like pavement. And it was, 40 yards of small cue cards, all written out with jokes on them. And I just thought, shit, you write that stuff down? I mean, I thought you just made it all up, but obviously 1,000 jokes later.
He does have that one episode where he's written something down and he can't remember what it was. He can't make out, no one can read what it is. And he's asking everybody, what do you think this says? Oh, you've got one.
Yeah. He's like, what is it? This is exactly so on my desk.
Ripped up,
torn pieces of paper
Oh,
with
I got tons of
ideas, notes, set lists on them. But like that's when I was younger too. I used to think all the time that comedians just got up there and were just naturally like, gifted. I remember watching Hollywood Squares when I was a kid, and my uncle telling me that all this stuff was pre-written, and that crushed me because I
Yeah.
thought all these people were like boom, boom, naturally, whatever. But the upside of that is it made me like when I perform, I always, because I thought that was the way it was kind of done. I've developed a natural like ability to be like, here's my written material. My thing has always been like, if I know my jokes and I know the stuff I want to hit, that leaves me room to play with the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the most fun for me. And that keeps it not boring for me. So I love and respect people like obviously like Seinfeld or whatever who have to have everything written out to the word. But I like it where it's something a little bit different, or I get to mix it up.
Well, that's the same with playing in the band is the same way. If you got your chops down, you know what you're doing. You're comfortable.
Yeah.
With what you're going to play, you can fill the other parts with fun. And that's what makes it exciting. You're living on the edge then, and you sort of stretch things or make things a little different, but you got to come back to where you're going to land. And it's going to be good.
Absolutely. And also it makes it so much more fun for your audience, right? Because they're like, they don't mind going back to see you again and again because something's different or the pattern's different.
Every time. You're right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's so much fun. How long does it take for you guys to get used to each other's rhythms and stuff like that? As far as like, you have to be listening. See, that to me is amazing about a band and about a unit and all that other stuff is you got to be listening to everybody else. You got to be listening to how the audience is responding. You got to watch your own stuff, memorizing the lyric. You know what I mean? So like, how long did you guys feel before you were like comfortable where you're like, we got this, where we know exactly where we are, what we're doing and how we're feeling?
I think even when you're learning a cover song, you got to learn your own part. And if you're the singer, he plays bass and sings like Paul McCartney at the same time.
Wow, yeah.
But he's been doing it forever, so it's a little, something that he can do. And I think and our drummer is a great singer, Todd Reynolds now. And I can sing, but I'm not very good because we play so friggin' loud.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything, but
we've been working to get the Zero and I've been playing since Water. We've had a band. We've been playing together since forever almost, and so we really know each other's timing and that on stage really well. We've had many different drummers over the years.
Yeah.
And Sonny Keys, our original keyboard player, is back with us again now, which is wonderful. But we've had many keyboard players over the years as well. And you can really tell when somebody's not dialed in the same as that you would like it to be. And
and so we've we got 3 out of the 4 original guys in our little band at this moment in time, and that you look at some of these bands, there's no original members. It's just the name, or it's one guy that was in it way after it started.
So it doesn't have the same feel as the original band. It's the same music and maybe one or two of the original guys, but to have that the initial spark there is it's hard to keep it like that. But, those 2 guys, we've been going. Me and Zero, we request you in the Mercedes. Come on, let's go.
That's beautiful, dude. I mean, I know exactly what you mean too, because I've definitely, gone out to some of these concerts or whatever where like, I went to see I had Bob Cowsill on from the Cowsills or whatever, and that was a blast. And his whole family. Do you know Bob?
Oh yeah, well, we did an interview with the Cowsill family there not too long ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they're fantastic. So, but they were doing like a collaborative thing. They weren't doing a concert just themselves. So they were the first ones, and then I think Badfinger was there, who I had Joey Molland on, which is just a coincidence that he happened to be there. But then, there's like Jay and the Americans. Obviously, Jay is gone. And then like a few other bands. And then as I'm sitting there, I'm just kind of looking and I'm going, I don't think who is this? I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? And I mean, I guess that just kind of happens. Or, what's even more kind of fucked up, and I don't even know if, you guys have an opinion on this, but like it was in the news recently, I think, or whatever. But Frankie Valli, who is a legend, obviously, but I mean, he's I don't even know if he knows where he is. Like and it's I'm to me, I was like, is this elder abuse? Like, why are they still making him do this? But apparently, he says he
loves it.
He loves it. So then I guess whatever.
And there's a YouTube channel where they debunk people singing live because people lip sync now, which is I think what they were talking about with Frankie Valli too.
Yes, absolutely.
And he proved that Don Henley was lip syncing at their concerts.
No way.
Called Wings of Pegasus, and this guy in England, he's got all his software and he can isolate vocals from.
Go write that down. There we go. Write that one down. See, this is what we call him Zero. He knows everything.
Wow.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. He's got all the software where he can isolate the vocal from the track, and so somebody sent him a tape of the Eagles playing, and another person sent in the same song from 2 months apart, 2 different cities and all that. And he isolated the vocals and lined them up, and they were exactly the same, which is,
oh my God,
physically and technically impossible.
Yeah.
And so he came to the conclusion that it was a pre-recorded version of, whichever song it was, Desperado or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And he's going, and people were freaking out at this guy, Phil, who runs that website or the YouTube channel. And
of course they were.
He's going, sorry, but this is the way it is. It's science, and you can't do this. And he was faking it.
Wow. That is so crazy. I mean, it's like I just learned recently, and this may be naive on my end. I don't know why I never knew this, but like, there were bands back in like the 60s and 70s who either like between infighting or they broke up or whatever it was, that they were not together, but the studios or the record executives or whoever it was would just get lookalikes to go on and then so like I had heard like they did that with Fleetwood Mac, and they said they did it with another band and I'm blanking. That was real. Was it the Misfits or somebody else? But they said it worked because there were no screens back then, so you couldn't see
so far away.
Yeah. And whatever. And I was like, I would have been fucking pissed if I had paid money to go see a band and then found out it was just their record playing in the background, and
Oh yeah. Well, here in Canada, there's a few bands that don't have any of the original people, but they're still using the name, the original band's name, and I mean, some of them are sanctioned, but a lot of them aren't. There's a lot of legal stuff going on that. The band's out playing with a certain name, but there's nobody in the original band, and they don't like that.
Well, and there's a band here called Trooper. They're a pretty good Canadian band, and they their guitar player Brian and their singer Ray, they both decided they had enough. They picked the guys that are replacing them, and they're out there. They're playing a lot of gigs, and the two they get a cut from the proceeds. Which. Why not, right?
That's the way to do it.
It keeps the music alive. People still want to see it, and the original guys get some dough out of it. So,
as long as it's sanctioned by the original guys, I guess it's okay, type of thing,
And we knew
exactly.
That we've played with them many times over the years, and one time out in British Columbia, I was talking to the singer Ray, and he said, we've just had too much of this, so. We've decided to play half the shows for twice the money.
That's good math. That's really good. That's good Canadian math. That is.
Yeah, that's fucking genius.
You get the same amount of money, but you don't take any of the shitty gigs, right? So.
Oh my God, I wish comedians could do that. Could you imagine being like, you know what? If Pryor was like, I'm near death, I'm done with my act, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send somebody else out there to do it.
It's great.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, like there's a couple other guys. Like this is another thing I don't, the music industry don't always understand how the music rights worked, all this kind of stuff. Because I had, I got the opportunity to talk to Lawrence Gowan, who's replaced the lead singer of Styx and all other stuff too. And then I had thought about getting Dennis DeYoung on as well, just for the whatever. Didn't work out so well that I had Lawrence on first. So I was, but I didn't, what do I know, but
Right.
but it's kind of like, it's kind of funny though too, because it's like, there's a guy who'd been in the band for so many years and so much time, and somebody else is singing all your songs. Do you get rights to that? Do you get money from that? Do you get, it blows me away that you can just be, removed from your own God, basically the stuff you gave birth to.
Well, Lawrence has been in the band longer than he was, I think, right? By now.
Exactly, yeah. And I got to go see them live, and they fucking destroyed. Like, it was like incredible and great show. So yeah, Dennis was
the
not
great
too
thing
kind.
too. Larry gets to play a couple of his own songs in the show, which is a great thing for him. That when he had his solo career here in Canada, Criminal Minds, I think, is one of them. And,
Yep, Criminal Minds.
So they're playing that worldwide, and that's good for him. Good for Larry.
Yeah,
he's perfect for that gig.
Oh, he's perfect.
He is. He's an amazing performer, and also just could not have been more humble as a guy. You know what I mean? Like, just the coolest dude. So
he's
yeah,
Canadian.
He's a Canadian.
It is really cool. Like, I gotta say, every Canadian that I have had on this show, you guys are all like, it's no joke. Like, you're all super friendly, talented, super nice, and I'm like, wait, maybe I was born in the wrong country. I like wearing the denim,
I'll tell you a joke that I told. We were in New York. We're playing New York City, and we're actually on a bus, I think, going up Fifth Avenue, heading north. We were there, the four of us, and so I just decided, who wants to hear a joke, and this is all full of hardcore New Yorkers. And I said, how do you get a bunch of Canadians out of the swimming pool? And everybody's going, wow. And then I said, over the sound system, you go, would all the Canadians please get out of the swimming pool? It's the stupidest joke ever.
Yeah, that's great, though.
It really, these people were killing themselves laughing.
It was dead quiet for a couple of seconds, and everybody started laughing. It was so dumb,
That's great. That's fucking genius, though. Oh man, did you guys? I mean, as Canadians, were you guys like? Was it a goal to try to make it over in the States, or did you not care as much? Or
100%.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky to meet our producer for their first couple albums, Bob Ezrin, who did The Wall by Pink Floyd, and
Alice Cooper,
and Kiss, and all this other stuff. And he was visiting the studio we were in, and he liked our stuff, and so he basically went and got us a international major label record deal in LA with Elektra Records. And
he's a Toronto boy, so he was, after he finished doing The Wall in England, he came back to Toronto to visit his family, and we were just doing our own independent album at the Nimbus 9 studio that he had worked at many times with all kinds of the Guess Who and from there. But and we just happened to be there working booked the night shift in the middle of the night when it was cheaper for us to be in there, and he comes walking in with Bob Ezrin.
Yeah, so
it was amazing.
It was a Cinderella story kind of thing, but like these guys, you got to be good enough, right? And so we'd already been 4 years into it, playing bars and shitty gigs and working on our music and everything, and so we were ready for it, but we needed a leg up, and he whipped us into shape in a more professional way than we were used to. And so, and then they put out our album with the single Switchin to Glide, which didn't do much till they put it out as a segue with the two songs stuck together, This Beat Goes On and Switchin to Glide.
Yeah.
And then we got to play on American Bandstand with Dick Clark, which is,
nice.
Incredible.
Yeah. Do you feel like,
no, go ahead.
Was that one of the singular things? Like, so the Dick Clark experience for a band, or just for you guys in general too, would you say that was the equivalent to like a comic being on Carson back in the day?
Had to be, for sure.
Oh yeah. If you were on that, on that show, it was like we were on. There was bands like Kool and the Gang and Nick Lowe and Rockpile and the Kings. Right. Holy shit! How did this happen? For a bunch of hicks from Canada, they're talking to Dick Clark. It was quite an amazing thing, really.
But the thing is that Toronto is just sort of across the lake from Buffalo. It's not that far. And the same with Windsor and Detroit and some of these other Canadian border cities. We always, even in the old days before cable and all that, we got ABC and CBS and NBC on our, antenna above the house. So
Right.
we were, and I guess some of those towns got our Canadian feeds too, but most of the U.S. didn't, obviously. But we were well versed in, Ed Sullivan or the Tonight Show,
Yeah.
Carson, and all, because it came over the airwaves and it was great.
Yeah.
And including American Bandstand. So like we knew all about it, and this is like you go, well, that's where you want to be, when they have these game shows and all this other incredible stuff where they win a car or something like that.
Yeah, you get a free lunch here.
Yeah, well, remember one time they had some game show with the prize was a washer, but not the dryer.
Yeah, that was you had to win the super draw.
Yeah, I got to get back on the show. How am I going to do that? I barely did it the first time.
Next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's incredible. And then so, to do that kind of stuff, did you feel like you were well received in Canada before and after being in America? You know what I mean? Like, was it a big deal to come back after touring the US and then like going back home and stuff?
We were working our way up here, and then we kind of got this boost. And so we were playing more in the States, and then some of the agents and stuff and the managers here, they kind of held it against us that we kind of jumped over them all.
I was wondering, yeah.
And
because we were opening up for Jeff Beck and the Beach Boys and
nice,
a few like a bunch of big all kinds of stuff. And in the meantime, the Canadians. We came back here. It was like, well, what are you guys doing back here then? How come you're back here?
Wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah, so it's kind of that small time mentality, but
yeah.
But we're all friends now with but I think that some of the people in the business still kind of hold it against us to some degree. These agents and stuff. I mean, the more you find out about it, the more. Rotten the whole thing. I'm sure too in the comedy world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In the entertainment world, I think people don't realize how shifty it is. Really, I think.
And we try to be loyal people, right? But
yeah,
there's no loyalty. I don't think.
No, I know exactly what you mean, and I could literally go on and on about it because I'm trying not to when I started out when I was younger, I would work with these guys all the time. I got picked up pretty early on to go on the road with like headliners and stuff, and sometimes I would go on the road with these dudes and I'd be like, my god, do they bitch a lot, you know what I mean, or they're bitter about whatever, and I'd be like, I'm never gonna do that. And as I get older I find myself being like, fucking, these guys,
you get kicked in the nuts so many times before you start going, okay.
Exactly. And like what sucks is just the level of distrust that you have where I have to constantly, I mean, not usually for other artists or other people in the business. I feel like there's always some kind of camaraderie or like, eye signal you give each other where you're like, I don't, this is, you don't know what I'm going through. But then with like people who either try to represent you or try to sell you something or trying to sell you, I have like such a low fucking bar for trust there. It's insane.
I'm that way.
Because, once you've been stabbed in the back a few times, it's
absolutely
still hurts.
Yeah. So you're going out on the road. Did you, when you were starting out and doing that kind of stuff, anybody in particular that you kind of like emulated or felt like you were like, we want to be like these guys or we want to do this kind of thing?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, you do have a very unique. I think you guys have a unique sound. I think, you stand apart from other bands and stuff like that of that era and that time.
We've always like when we were earlier on in before we had our albums out, and we've always been writing original songs. I mean, and we pride ourselves in writing a good song. Like there's lots of everybody can write a shitty song. We try to write good songs, but back in the day, playing the bars, we doing cover songs like the Cars or Elvis Costello and all. we do it King way, we do it our way, you know, and it would be the same song, but we would make it sound like us. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, about a third of the show, we'd be playing our own songs, and nobody really knew because it sounded like the cover songs we were playing, basically, you know. And so we've always worked on our own sound, and that's why we're still going. I think, you know.
Do you guys feel like, did you feel a particular competition with other bands when you were younger, or did you because a lot of times I've talked to people who are now going back out on the road or doing that kind of stuff. One of the things they like is that feeling of maybe more or just less competition. Like, hey, look, we've all made it this far. This is fantastic. But did you feel particularly competitive when you were younger?
I think for sure we all did, because there was only so many gigs and so many availability of progress.
Yeah. And there was so many bands. You know, there's a lot of bands that have fallen by the wayside, and the ones that are still going, like the old rock soldiers like us and many of the other, you know, you get together and go, so how you doing? Oh, we're doing all right. You go, yeah, you're sounding great. You know,
we played with most of the Canadian rock bands of the last 30 or 40 years. And now it's just sort of, like you say, it's a lot easier because the competition is not there. It's like, you know, I'm happy if you get a gig, and I think they're happy if we get a gig, you know, so that's kind of a good thing. Of course, some of these guys are getting better gigs than we are. We don't like that too much.
But it's great. It is great playing, you know, like two band shows or three bands on the show, and you don't have to play the whole night and bore the audience or whatever. But it spreads out the vibe and everybody has a great time backstage. You're all meeting up, and everybody's pretty sober nowadays. The ones that have made it this long are pretty sober now compared to how it used to be.
Well, in terms, there's usually a few beers after the gig.
Sure,
none of the band.
Yeah. What are those hangs like now? I mean, if you're going on one of those tours and that kind of stuff too, like, are you guys all talking, swapping stories backstage, or does everybody?
To some degree, yeah, for sure.
Nice. And well, the all-night parties don't happen like they used to. That's for sure. The hotels get pretty quiet. They're an hour or two after the show compared to the old.
But our next one, we're doing one of these things in Cancun, Mexico, in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yeah,
and it's one of these types of things that we would like to get on more. Like it's called 80s in the Sand. Ooh. And so there's Rick Springfield and Lou Gramm from Foreigner, and
nice.
Ace Frehley
from Kiss.
Oh, shit.
Billy Ocean, is it?
Yeah, and the Fix, Level 42, and Bret Michaels, I think, from.
Yeah.
Oh, holy mother!
It's like a 5-day event at Planet Hollywood in Cancun, and we're really happy. We're going. It's going to be a great. We're looking forward to it. It's great.
Can I give you my number? Can you guys FaceTime backstage so you can just
have to get in the line? There's a line.
Yeah, I was gonna say, once you get done with your friends and stuff that want that, just give old John a call.
We looked it up, and boy, it ain't cheap to go to this thing. I'll tell you.
No. I know that's the thing, dude. Like I honestly, like, half the reason I still do that, because I only did this during the pandemic because I was losing my mind not being able to tour, and then and I really do love doing this, but at the same time, it is nice to get invited to all these concerts and stuff, and then just be like, this is a pretty fucking penny, you know what I mean? I don't have to do that shit, but no, that's so fucking cool. So now.
Speaking of going nuts during COVID, that's when we put our new album together during that time, pretty much. We have a new album called The Longest Story Ever Told.
That's fantastic. Like beautiful. I'm going to pick that up on Vine. I love that cover, by the way. They sent me a picture of that. I was dying.
And the dog's not in any peril. He's just got his head looking for the cat food. That's all. And real vinyl too. Look at that.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those since '83 or something.
They're back.
They're big. They're big.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your COVID experience, stuff like that too, because you were talking about working with producers and stuff like that, and I imagine COVID made that harder to do. Did you guys appreciate the freedom of working in a different way during COVID and having to put something out like that separately?
I mean, it was like the great unknown, and I don't know. Nobody knew what it was or what was going to happen. And so we were all afraid, I guess. I know, but we know some anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
what's
what-
that like? No, I'm just kidding. I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah,
But as far as working on the album, it was quite interesting. It showed the beauty of the internet, not the bad parts of the internet, the good part of the internet, where we could record and then send our bed tracks off to someone else to do some mixing or to do some overdubs and send it back to us. It was, in fact, one of our songs there. The trumpet player is from Spain. We never met him or anything, but we hired him through that fiber.
Yeah, and our keyboard player in British Columbia wrote the horn part, and then we hired a guy in Spain to record it on the trumpet.
Like real trumpet. Instead of synthesized horn, it sounded too synthesized.
Right.
We hired a real trumpet player in Spain.
And then it was mixed in LA.
Wow.
So that's what made this the beauty of actually the internet. That's what it's supposed to be for, that kind of stuff, right? And,
exactly.
But it was quite interesting learning how to use all this new fandangled technology.
Yeah. Did it change the way you guys want to work in the future, or do you think you'll just because a lot of people I know miss the studio element of it and performing together or whatever, but are you going to kind of blend anything you know what I mean? Like anything you learned from COVID
We've
into
been so motivated by budget, I think, in the last few years, it's just, there are traditional studios that are still in business and all that, but they're still, $150 an hour or whatever it is. And you got to really, use your time wisely.
Yep.
And so we would generally do drum tracks in the real studios because it's hard to get a drum sound and
the real drums in a real studio, you get the real ambience
and the good microphones and all that stuff instead of a basement type of thing. But our engineer Chris Snow, he's got a great little basement studio and he's a really great engineer. So we used him in all these other bigger studios, and we get the drums, and then we did a lot of it, in a smaller studio, and which you can do nowadays to save money instead of just. But back in the old days, I mean, we were certainly familiar with that too, because even you get those reels of tape that are 2-inch tape that are 15 minutes.
2 inches thick.
Yeah, they're 2 inches thick.
And they go like that. They're going like this, and every one of those turns is another dime or whatever.
They go to 30 inches per second. So 30 inches a second goes by the tape head, and it was $300 for a reel, and it lasted 15 minutes.
And now you have unlimited takes. You can just keep going over and over, and you can edit. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, how good are you guys at walking away from a thing that's already completed? You know what I mean? Like, are you like?
That's a good question too.
That is the hard thing to do, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, especially when you can just go back in and edit. Like you're like, oh, we're not wasting tape or film. It's digital.
Well, yeah. I mean, Chris got mad at me because you said it was done.
It's done. No, it's not done.
Not done yet.
When I am finished. But then you think it's done and it sounds great, and then of course a month or two later you listen to it. Oh, shit, I should have done this different. Even though what's there is good, but I could have done one more little something different.
All you can do is your best at the time.
That's right.
Yes.
And then you just give it all you've got, and then you can live with yourself.
Yeah.
But there was just like that one little niggly thing that I just thought I gotta fix that, and so you said you were done. I go, fuck, I'm not. Fuck it.
Have you ever done any recording like of your shows and put out CDs or anything like that?
Yes. And I've done a couple of those things, and then also, I mean, I've done voiceover work, and I've done a couple things like that before too. I recently, like as of just this past weekend, drove my friends fucking crazy because normally I don't really try to like work stuff doesn't usually fall on when I'm away with my friends on vacation. I take like 2 a year. That's it. And then whatever. So, but a buddy of mine is doing a benefit for Hurricane Helene in Milton. And it's for the Sonic Sunshine benefit or whatever. I don't know if you know Glenn Phillips from Toad the Wet Sprocket.
No, I know the band, but
yeah. So Glenn had called me and they were like, would you mind doing a video just to help us raise money? And say, whatever. And I was like, yeah, no problem, whatever. So it was on a timestamp. So when I got to the house, I was like, I just have to film this thing real quick, and I like set it up in this house that we had rented, and it took me like 12, 15, and my friends were like, are you still, everybody's drinking and having a good time, and I'm like, yeah, just give me like whatever. And then so sometimes they'd stand behind the camera and I'd like run through what I wanted to say, but I had to hit like the charities and then like and I'd say, oh, I said that wrong, and they're like, it's fine,
It's fine,
just go, just do the thing. And I'm like, it's really hard when you can edit yourself or go back in, like it's and I'm like, I didn't know I was ever like that about stuff until cell phones, digital shit came along, and you could just do it over again.
Well, you want it to be right, and so know what's right, and like we do a lot of station IDs for radio stations and stuff, and they give you the call letters and who the DJ is, and you want to put some energy into it and get it right, and then you fuck it up a couple times.
I'm just happy we're all like that, because I felt so much better after, and I called Tommy Chong and asked him if he wanted to submit a video for this thing too, and Tommy sent me a video, and within the first 5 seconds he messed up his name, and I was like, thank God. Like, he knows his name, but he just fumbled like a thing for a second. He was like, fuck. And then I was like, oh, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
he had to do another take.
Well, that's what makes it to the blooper reel, I guess, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, and that's what doesn't make it AI either, right? All that crap.
Yeah, it's not AI, it's real.
Yeah, exactly. This is as real as it gets. God, that's great. So, do you guys have anybody in particular that you loved touring with back in the day, that you like got close with, that you didn't like? You said you mentioned touring with the Beach Boys and a couple of those other bands or whatever. Like anybody that you guys?
There's some shows with these people, but we found out that we would back in the early. We'd rather just do our own show and go play clubs in the cities instead of some of these bigger things, because it's half the time we had a bad experience playing with Jeff Beck in Denver, Colorado, and
what happened?
Well, they didn't announce that we were going to be there. It was,
nobody knew the Kings were opening up for Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
And this was at a time when we were just coming out of the clubs, and we always used to try to put on kind of a freak show to make ourselves known by wearing spandex and
zebra stripe. I had a zebra stripe, the onesie.
And I wore a tuxedo. I'd wear a tuxedo.
It was in the early '80s, when the new wave was like Devo, with their wacky hats.
Well, of course.
It was in that time frame.
Our keyboard player wore a yellow overalls with bleached blonde hair, and we would put a lot of just to put on a freak show in the bars. And then we got to Denver, and then we'd come out there like the Village People or something, and
in front of the Jeff Beck audience of the long-haired, torn blue jean guys, mostly
all guys, no women there.
Instantly, boo!
Oh my God!
Ain't a note yet, and they're booing us, and just boo!
Wow!
Oh yeah.
And so
we learned our lesson there.
And they were throwing stuff at us and all this, It was just a nightmare. And we go back to the dressing room, and our manager's there, and there's guys from the record company there, and they're all, very quiet is what they were.
This never happens. Oh yes, it happened. The stage is strewn with things. But we learned our lesson, because the next time we opened up for Jeff in Texas, we just had our torn blue jeans on and our t-shirts, and everything was okay.
And it was rock music, and it went over just fine.
Oh, fantastic. Wait, no, what does Jeff say with something about that? Was he cool with it? Was he like...
We never really met him, It's because he was so isolated as... we were just another dumb band opening for him. Like some agent put on, and he wouldn't even know about it. But
right,
nicest guys were the Beach Boys. We they even invited us up on stage with them, and we had a video camera at the side of the stage after our show. We were, just videoing from the side of the stage. Carl, he says, "Give me the camera," and he's got the camera. He's shooting his own band, and they invited our drummer to get up and play with them, and everything. It was great.
That's awesome. Those are the stories you love.
It was their Be True to Your School tour that they did there in the late '80s, whatever. They had the winners of the the champion
cheerleaders.
cheerleader team from California in a tour bus along, like in their own tour bus traveling around with them.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that, but
If you were Donald Trump, you'd go backstage, into the dressing room. But we didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
Oh no. That's at least you guys don't have to deal with that shit this election cycle, do you?
No, we don't have that. We got our own problems here.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you got something going on there.
There's problems all over the world right now.
It's weird that every country has kind of caught America's disease of Trump. Have you noticed that? Like,
it seems that way, doesn't it?
It's like a bad cold. These things just keep surfacing where they're like, this guy's the Trump of Brazil. And you're like, wow, why? Why the fuck did that happen?
Well, we try to stay away from politics.
Yeah, we don't talk politics. Or
I don't blame you. We don't have to. It's fine by me.
It's hard. It's hard not to, though, isn't it? Really, and
it kind of is almost, because you're like, it's. I really. This is the only thing I'll say about the rest of this stuff. But it is unbelievable that now, like, that politics is almost inescapable. Like, even at, like, sometimes, like, a cashier will be like, so you voting? I'm like, I'm just buying rice, for God fuck is it. Like, let me go. Let me just get through the day, please.
Yeah, I hear you, boy.
Well, I think that is an important thing, though, is everybody should just vote, vote for whoever the fuck you want,
This might make more people come out to the polls and voice their opinions.
Just take part in this thing, because we're lucky to have it.
So many people go. It's amazing the percentage of people that actually do go out and vote. It's very, very small compared to the population. That's for sure.
It is. They need to change the way that it's done, so that it's not something you can forget, and it's not something that is a hassle to get to. Because I mean, there's stuff for myself that I don't even want to do anymore. You know what I mean? When I'm tired, I'm just like, I don't need to eat. So like, if you're doing that.
Well, maybe that's when they should start using these cell phones more for all that kind of stuff. Of course, people would say it's fixed. I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as they allowed mail-in stuff, that's all I do now is get mail.
Oh, for sure. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's the best way to do it. I mean, I don't have to, and I don't get a sticker, but who fucking needs a sticker? You know what I mean?
I voted. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'll just write it on my forehead on the day and then walk around. It is crazy. I don't know if you guys need an opener in Canada or whatever in the next month, but if you want to get me out of this country for a bit, I will. I'll pay you.
We're going to Mexico. Come on, let's go.
I'll go in a heartbeat. I might not come home, but I'll go.
Stop by and pick you up on the way. How's that?
We're playing there.
Hopefully, we'll be coming down to your neck of the woods. I'd love to get back down in that area.
Oh my God, yeah, please.
We actually opened for Gary Newman in Passaic, New Jersey, at the Capitol Theater.
That's right.
Get the hell out of here! I love
in cars
in back in 1980.
I love Gary Newman. He was one of my like earlier guests. Like, I think of like my first like 20 episodes, Gary Newman came on, and he told one of the funniest stories. I was like about being arrested when he was younger, when he was on vacation in a plane with him and his buddy flying over India. They had to land.
Really?
And he got arrested in India because they thought he was a British spy. Like, this story is so insane. It could have been a movie. I have to send you guys the clip because it's the wildest fucking story. Like, it's truly like, but yeah, he's a great dude. He was so nice.
No, great.
That's awesome that you guys got to work with it. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, but please, I hope you guys come back down this way. We got Asbury Park. We got a bunch of great venues. I'll come out and support.
Sure.
You'll know who I am.
And we go to Katz's every time we're in New York City.
Too. We're just looking at that Katz's thing.
I tried to take. So there's a band in Canada called Retrophile right now. They're they're twin brothers. Great band. You got to check them out if you can get a chance. If you like checking out, they've got kind of like a Roxy Music vibe to them. But they're great. They just came and did shows in New York for the first time in the States, maybe like 6-7 months ago. And I took them over to Katz, and I felt so bad. They did go there eventually. They were there for about a week, but I went to go take them there, and it was fucking slammed. Like, they had all their instruments and stuff with them, and the guys at the restaurant were like, No.
Lined up down around the block there or something?
Yeah. And then we just wound up at this fucking dive diner, but that was still great too. So everybody was happy.
Great place. And I have to tell the story that one time we were there, we went down in my minivan because we could fit the gear in the back, and we drove down.
Nice.
And we got the last best parking spot, legal spot, right in front of Katz's.
The closest one to the front door of Katz's. There's a parking spot right there.
There was none closer, and we're looking at all the signs. And we're going, shit.
Is this for real?
This is the legal spot.
Fuck, this is unbelievable. I know, it was amazing. We just back parked in there. It was like, wow.
I think that was the time we played at the Javits Center for the 10-year anniversary of the 9/11 firefighter, had a big firefighter convention in New York.
Yeah, it was. I think it was that time. Yeah.
So it was quite an honor to play for some of those folks too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the best you can get over there. If I had found a spot like that in New York, I would have never left.
Yeah, that's just
I'm not moving my car. I just live here now.
It was one of those things, that's for sure.
It was the last little lunch before we hit the road back to Toronto. And,
Sweet.
Love it.
I'm going to ask you guys the last 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show. So first question, bit of a softball one, but if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Good question. You're hearing crickets? You're hearing crickets here right now?
Well, I guess that sort of plugs into some regrets. You know, it's like if you have a regret or two or something, what would you change or because you might be able to do it. And for me, there's a couple things. One of them was after we lost our deal with the big label in the U.S., we were with Capitol Records here, and I just felt that I didn't treat it the right way, and it could have. As a business decision kind of thing, it could have turned out better for us. But so in that way, I would tell myself, don't be such a fucking asshole. And when you're dealing with a record company, they're on your team. They're there for you, and they're very important to try to maintain a positive relationship with, I think. And so that's one that I would remember for me was, it's not just about you and the band. You're partners with people that are trying to help you. So remember that.
That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
Right.
Your turn.
My turn? I don't know. I was trying to think. I've had a pretty good life. I made a few mistakes here and there, but the only thing I wish I had studied music. I was at the Ontario Conservatory of Music when I was a kid. Learned how to. I was, doing really well writing and music and that, and I guess I should have kept up with that more. But I sort of got into cars and girls and rock bands, and that all sort of faded. I just became having a good time, Charlie type of fella.
Oh, that's.
But I got 2 great sons, and I'm happy for that. And I'm glad I met this guy. I knew his older brother back in high school days. And he was this youngster here, just a young guy coming out and watching me play in rock and roll bands. And,
he was the only guy with any talent.
And so we've known each other since public school and high school.
Wow.
We've been friends.
My brother played in bands, and I used to go see I was this young guy, and saw all the bands in our town of Oakville, Ontario. And like I said before, he's the only guy who had any talent in the whole town. You could just tell.
You're my friend.
Yeah.
I love this dynamic, though.
Here's the $10.
$10, right? Every time I tell that story, I get $10.
Okay, next question.
That's great. Next question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
Had to end in our lives
good or bad?
End.
Well, one thing that happened to us when we got we were working hard and playing in the bars and all that. We finally got a big break and everything, and both our fathers died the same year that our album came out. That
we wrote "Switchin" the Glide that year.
Yeah, just before they didn't see us get the deal and get the breaks and all this other stuff and have a hit record in the U.S.
Holy shit!
But
They saw us before that, and they saw us play at some good gigs and stuff, but they didn't see the big break.
No,
Damn,
they didn't.
sorry
That's
to hear
right.
that.
Yeah, that same year. That's right. That was the year. Like that's what we say. Maybe Switchin the Glide. This beat, Switchin the Glide, was a gift from our dads.
Yeah.
Maybe in a way,
Yeah.
They were both behind our families were all behind what we were doing. At first, they say, well, you got to do something other than music. That's just that. And then, well, actually, you guys are pretty good.
Yeah. And
that type of thing,
And our moms lived a long time after that.
Yeah.
So they saw all the ups and downs and the success and everything.
Yeah, both of our moms used to come to shows, with cotton battens stuck in their ears and stuff. And they'd come out there with a couple old grannies out there watching their sons rocking and rolling.
That's great. That's sweet that they got to see you though, like have your success. That's very nice.
They became friends. They traveled quite a bit together, and that was good.
And that's a healthy perspective to have about your dads too, that they kind of gave you that gift. Did it take you a while to come to that, or did you guys, that happen over time?
Well, it was pretty busy back then, so it was kind of one of those things that you don't
really realize it till maybe later on, in retrospective, and type of thing.
Right.
I remember one time I was coming home from a gig somewhere, and my dad was in the hospital, and I was just tired and felt like shit, and I just wanted to go home. And I said, pull over at this exit and go see him, and I did, and I'm really glad I did. You know what I mean? Because it was he was in there fading out, and it's just such a heartbreak to see your strong, vital dad lying in a cancer ward with fucking dying.
Yeah. I went through something similar a year ago, November, because my dad wound up in the ICU, and it was the last time I saw him, but it was also one of those things where he'd gone, and he wasn't always in the best of health, but he had gone in those things before. And when my uncle had called me to tell me he was in the ICU, it was midnight here, and he lived in Brooklyn. And so I was just like, well, I'm going there. And he was like, no, he's like, just give it a day, and whatever. You don't need to come now. It's too late. You're not going to drive that far. Like, we just talked to him. And I was just like, I got a feeling. I'm like, I'm just whatever, I'm gonna go. And I'm glad I did, because I went and I basically spent the whole day, but he was gone like not too long after that, like not able to speak.
Good for you, you did that.
Sorry to be all Debbie Downer about this.
Hey, you're asking the questions here, pal.
No, it's fine. This is called Dystopia Tonight. We went through the ups and downs, the whole thing. It's great. It's good to, and again, on the upside of that is we both wound up having an instinct, to go and do that kind of thing. So that's pretty great. And then the last question is just truly bizarre. So, I mean, it'll bring it back up, because this is called Dystopia Tonight. We like to play around with imaginary scenarios. So if you wake up tomorrow and you find out that it's the end of the world, what do you think would have caused it? Do you think, and this is your choice, so do you want it to be a political collapse, climate change, a comet, aliens, zombies, whatever it is? And what's your epic death? How you going out?
I'm going out. I think it's going to be an asteroid that they didn't see in time or something.
Sweet.
But, is there any warning, or does it just happen?
You wake up in the morning, 9 a.m., and you turn on the news, and it's like, hey guys, this is it.
Well, didn't we sort of go through that with the COVID? Nobody knew what was going on there, but
pretty much.
Everybody's I don't know. Hey, that's pretty wacky dystopian type of questions.
I'd probably just, if the phones were still working, I'd probably just phone everybody and tell them how much I love them and all that.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Oh, zero.
I love that. That's very nice. I don't know that anybody's chosen that yet. Most people are like, I'm gonna go out stabbing a guy.
Hey, your neighbor.
Yeah, my neighbor.
Neighbor you hated all this time.
Oh, the most American revenge story. Find my neighbor. Take us. That's
I
great.
was thinking earlier, you mentioned the Hollywood Squares. Paul Lynde got away with murder on that show, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was him, I believe, ad-libbed some shit.
I was going to
like
say,
no
I bet
one
he was
knew.
the ad-libber in there, probably.
I think so too. I think no one knew what was going to come out of Paul Lynde's mouth.
Some people, they put his quotes on like a list of quotes that he did, and it's just killer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the best. I watched a like a mini biography on him on something, and that he had a wild life. I mean, hard being closeted and stuff like that, but like Hollywood parties and just trucks and doing all that kind of shit. Like it was crazy. I was because you don't expect the uncle from Bewitched who did Yagazuzi to be like
right.
a party animal, but
his jokes on Hollywood Squares were so gay, right?
Oh yeah,
but not. It was kind of safe, but I mean, it was the.
He always seemed gay to me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
But people didn't know Liberace was gay, for God's sake.
Yeah,
So
how can that be?
I know. And then what was it like? Rock Hudson, Cary Grant. God,
it goes on and on.
Yeah. There's like a list of people who you find out later, and then there's just stuff where you find out like somebody was like, John Wayne one time was banging, and you're just like, well, no, he wasn't. Like now you're just making shit up.
Well, you should find this movie about a guy named Scotty Bowers, who you can write that down. He was
the affirmative.
Oh God, he wrote a book. He died a few years ago at 90 something, but he was the pimp of Hollywood. And
whoa.
He was a Marine in World War II, and then he came back and worked at a gas station. And he was like a good looking, fit Marine guy, and he's in LA. And one of his first guys that pulled up in a car was Walter Pidgeon. He looked at him and said, "How'd you like to come for a swim?" And this guy grew up having no moral compass as far as sex at all.
Wow.
He grew up on a farm, and his neighbors started diddling him and all this other shit. He loved it. He didn't care.
Wow.
And he moved to a city, and all the priests and all the Catholic churches, they're all passing him. You gotta look this guy up.
I will.
I gotta write that down.
You gotta look this guy up. And J. Edgar Hoover.
Scotty Bowers. I wrote it. I'm just making sure I got his name right. Okay.
You gotta look it up. And there's a movie they made a documentary about him, and it's just staggering, and it's a fantastic thing to read and
all
find
the people
out
that he hooked up with.
Oh my God. I know. It's like it's amazing what people could get away with back then. I'm not even talking about illegally either, but I'm just saying like the private life you could have had.
Yes.
As opposed to the one you absolutely do not have now.
Not anymore. Everybody's got a phone, camera.
Exactly. Somebody was just on a talk show recently. Oh, I think it was like Gwyneth Paltrow, and she was like, "Oh man, I miss the '90s when you could just do cocaine at a bar and no one's got a camera." I was like, what the fuck, Gwyneth? But yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, I would kill for that."
Yeah.
That must have been. I know. I feel like honestly, my generation just really like we had a great time to grow up as kids, but it sucks as adults. We have no like it just surveillance, Big Brother shit. I've lived vicariously through like all of you guys, like all your stories from back, all the cool rock stories and shit from back in the day.
Well,
none of that.
Yeah. Any time before 2000 was pretty good, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yes, absolutely. I mean, even as a kid, I was like, "This is great." I don't know what's going on, but I know it's fucking awesome. Awesome.
Well,
you guys are incredible. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you spending time with me.
John, it was a great pleasure for us.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome.
Thanks.
I'm glad that Anne's great. We took a bit of time for us to get together, but
yeah,
it's been good.
Dystopia.